Hello there, guys. This week it is National Mental Health Week, something along those lines. And one thing that I've always wanted to talk to you about, or talk in general in public about, is social anxiety. I myself feel like I have it. I've never been properly diagnosed with it. And it's completely self-diagnosed. I've never been to a doctor about it. I've never had the confidence to, because when I was younger, I went to the doctors about depression, and they laughed at me. They didn't, but they treated me in such a way that effectively made me feel like they were laughing at me. They were not really taking me seriously, and it made me feel a bit shit about it all. And ever since, I've never really been able to go to the doctors about it. Hopefully, if you guys feel any kind of mental issues, you can go to your doctors and you can talk to them. But in my experience, I've never had good experiences, which has always put me off. And it's probably better nowadays. I'm talking, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I was like between the ages of 12 and 15. I can't remember exactly when I went, but yeah, and ever since I've never actually been able to reach out for help about things like this, which I think has only made things worse, because I know back in school, I used to have things like this. I used to have these feelings inside my head that were social anxiety. So, for example, a perfect case is that back in school, back in college, there would always be like a whole kind of area where there would be food, where you would go for lunch, and people would socialise and things like that. But whenever I go near those kind of places, whenever I go near any kind of crowded situations, I always feel very scared, very anxious. It's difficult to describe it. It's one of those feelings like you feel like you are muted. You feel like you are being so heavily judged, but probably everyone is ignoring you. Doesn't even probably know you're there. But it's such a strong feeling that makes it really difficult to deal with those kind of situations. Because, like, for example, back in school, I can remember going into those kind of that hall, lunch hall kind of area, going to get my food, and then looking across to the rest of the hall where there's loads of benches, people chatting and socialising as normal people would, and I got incredibly scared. I got incredibly petrified, and I don't know why. I genuinely do not know why. And ever since, I never had food at dinner time when I was back in school. I never socialised that much because I was too scared to make friends. And obviously, if you're too scared to make friends yourself, you don't have any friends. Therefore, your friends can't then introduce you to friends because you do not have any friends. So I've always been going through that constant cycle of I need friends to make friends, and till I make friends I will not have friends. Which is incredibly terrible for me, because while I don't mind being alone, I've grown accustomed to it over the past like 5 or 6 years. It's still shit. It's still terrible. Like, Eurovision was last night. I woke up to a bunch of tweets and things like that, and it's full of people enjoying themselves and socialising and being with their friends, and it gets me really upset sometimes because I know I've never experienced that. I know I've never had those kind of moments with friends, with people, because I don't know anyone, because I'm too messed up in here to actually reach out and to actually talk to people. Like, I take the example of work. I've been there for, I think it's 10 months now. I'm still too afraid to talk to my co-workers, to talk to the people that actually respect me quite well, and say, hey, do you want to go for some lunch? Or, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Did you want to hang out? You know, it would never happen because most of them they have families and stuff like that. But still, like, a lot of people go to lunch with each other. But it's something that I find really, really difficult. And as a result, I end up just sitting by myself at my desk, continuing to work during lunch, eating by myself and kind of feeling a bit shit. Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, obviously, social anxiety is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to suicidal thoughts or depression. But it can certainly lead to some of those things. Like, I'm not saying whatsoever that I have those things. Thankfully, like, I have got off quite well. Like, I've dealt with social anxiety most of my childhood and then teenage years, and now starting to get into my young adult life. I've never had that many friends, and as a result, I'm used to it. But then that means that when it comes to things like work, when it comes to things like anything past university, where there's societies, where there's the ability to actually find friends via something common, without actually having to reach out to someone and say, hey, are you interested in that? I'm going to be screwed, and I'm really scared about it. And I try not to think about it too much because I know it will freak me out. But it's one of those things that I have, that it's really difficult. It's hard to explain because, like, I gave the example of work, where I find it incredibly difficult to talk to anyone in work about anything social. But those same people I can go to and I can say, hey, can you help me with this issue? Or, hey, that's wrong, we need to fix it. You know, those kind of things, like work-related things, I am perfectly fine with. Like, I've gone to plenty of managers and said, hey, this is wrong. Hey, we're doing this wrong. We need to fix this. Or, hey, that guy's doing a really good job. Yet, when it comes to anything social, I am so reserved. I'm so scared. I'm so anxious and worried. It's hard to describe. It's like a filter. It's like literally my brain filtering everything out and just not having any knowledge or any ability to deal with the social side of stuff. It's difficult. It really is, because I have some fantastic work colleagues, and things like leaving drinks. Like, I'm going to be leaving my placement here in Amazon in, I think it's 3 weeks' time. When I leave, usually people have drinks. Usually they go out for drinks at a local pub, take like at least 30 or 40 people, I think it is. And they have a good time. They go and have drinks. But, like, I know that's coming up, and I know I want to, because I think it would be nice. But my mind is saying, what the fuck are you doing? That is crazy. Because of my anxiety about the whole social situation. And I will probably end up not doing it, and then I'll come home and I'll feel like shit because I haven't done it, because I've then just left some fantastic work colleagues and I've not done anything. I've not done anything to remember that time other than doing fantastically well at my placement. But life's not all about work, which is something that I've learned this year. And it's something that I wish I had learned earlier in my life. Like, yes, I am reasonably intelligent. I was going to say very intelligent, but I'm reasonably intelligent. I know a thing or two, and when I study, I can really focus and I can do well. But to actually socialise is something completely different. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I like the fact that I don't socialise because it means that I can focus on things and it means that I can enjoy myself. I don't have to worry about talking to people. I don't have to worry about the stress of, oh, does this person like me? Do they not? Are they talking shit about me? You know, that kind of shit. But at the same time, I feel like I'm missing out on such a huge part of life, and it worries me. It really does. And hopefully the fact that I'm feeling more comfortable to talk about this, even on YouTube, means that maybe I'm getting better. Maybe I'm getting to a state where I can actually start to get out of it and sort myself out. I'm hoping next year that when I go back to university that I'll be able to kind of kick this, and I'll be able to get help from my flatmates, get help from people around me, to kind of get myself out there a bit more and kind of enjoy my final year at university. This is a huge thing for me. This is something that I found quite difficult to actually talk about. And it's not something that I like talking about, because I don't like trying to seek help or anything like that. I am very much, I can handle this, I can do this by myself, that kind of approach. But I think it's times like these when I'm at my lowest that I definitely need help. Because 6 months into this placement where I've came here by myself, effectively by myself, 6 months in, I was feeling like I wanted to give it all up and go back to the UK and have like a little bit of a gap year and relax more. But I didn't. I stuck it out, and I kept myself busy with things like Lego, things like watching YouTube, and studying and things like that, because I was finding it really difficult. I was finding it incredibly difficult to keep myself happy, to keep myself motivated to do anything. At one point I even set up a countdown timer on my phone to count down the days between then and when I would leave and when I would be back in the UK, because I was that desperate to get back, which is really worrying. Obviously, I really, 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 really love my job. I love what I do. I love the Amazon culture. But I was feeling so down. I was feeling so lonely. I was feeling so alone. It meant that, like, what was the point? Even if I was doing fantastically well, what was the point in staying there? Because I was only making myself worse. But I've dealt with it. I've kept going, and I think it's worth it. I know where I need to improve. I know where I need to work on. And I guess that's something that I can just hope for the future. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below as well, wherever the comments are. It has been months since I've got myself back into YouTube. I've got a bit of a cold now, by the way, if you're wondering. I don't now sound like this, and I don't now look like this. I feel terrible right now, but I wanted to make a video this week about this mess inside my brain. And I wanted to make sure I do it, because otherwise I would hate myself for not taking the opportunity to actually talk about it in such an appropriate week. So yeah, feel free to leave a like, feel free to share this with people if you want. I don't really care. This is just more for me to get my feelings, get my emotions out there, and get my thoughts out there. So then I can just say, yeah, take a look at that video, that explains why I'm not going out. It's one of those things that I find really difficult to explain to people, and not many people understand it, because a lot of people just have friends and know what it's like to have friends. Not many people know how it feels to want to make friends, to have the personality that means that they will probably make some good friends, and not be physically able to do so. Mentally able to do so. Because I have a fantastic personality, but I'm just limited by this this thing in here, which stops me, which is a huge pain. But anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you guys soon, hopefully, when I'm probably a bit better and not having a really cruggy throat. So, goodbye.